Okay, so I want to pop on and introduce this video really quick. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the arrows in human design as it relates to productivity. But specifically in this video, I'm going to cover arrow number 3, which is the arrow that's on the bottom right-hand side of a body graph chart. So the first part of this video is just a general introduction to the arrows, why I'm using that framework to have a conversation around productivity, and then I'll get into arrow 3 and what it can tell us about having more or less structure in our life and how it might benefit us to either lean into structure or lean into fluidity. All right, so I want to introduce the 4 arrows in human design, and I want to share a little bit why I'm using that as a framework for a larger conversation around productivity. So if you think human design is a bit woo and it's a little crazy and you're like, I'm not sure about this, I still invite you to stick around, because really the conversation is less about the arrows and it's more about, is more structure or more fluidity supportive to you in your life to be and feel more in flow and more productive, okay? So let me just get into the arrows really quick. If you pull your body graph chart or you look at one online, you're going to see that there's 4 arrows at the top of the body graph chart. Those arrows can point either left or right, each one. And whether it's pointed left or right means something different. So in human design, they represent what's called the 4 transformations. The first transformation is digestion. The second is environment. The third is perspective, and the last one is awareness. So the arrows in a nutshell tell us how we relate to the world around us and how we're designed to take in information. And I believe that even in talking about the arrows in a very simple way can give us insight on how we might be more productive. So my first point, this conversation is the tip of the iceberg. A human design body graph chart is so complex. There's so much information in it. So just know, like if you're even thinking about the 4 arrows, there's 16 possible different combinations that somebody can have. And so if you think about it, if you think there's like rubber bands attached to each arrow, they kind of have this push and a pull amongst each other, depending if they're left or they're right. So I really recommend that if you really want to understand at a deep level what your arrows mean for you, have a conversation with your favorite human design expert, okay? Because they're going to be the ones who really tell you what it means for you. I'm going to be very reductive and simplistic when I'm talking about the arrows in relation to productivity. So I don't want any of my human design peers to get upset with me. So just be really aware that this is a very simple conversation. There's a lot of complexity, so you'd really want to talk to an expert if you want to understand what your dynamic looks like and what it means for you. All right, so my second point that I need to really hammer in here is experts in human design tell us that we should really not worry about the advanced information in the arrows of our chart until after we have mastered our energy type. So specifically our strategy and our authority for our energy type. So if you are new to human design, I highly recommend go get your chart, put in your information, see what your energy type is. You'll be one of 5 different energy types. And really kind of understand what your strategy and authority is and start learning to master that before worrying too much about the details of all the other things in your chart. All that said, I'm being called to speak to the more advanced information in the arrows in a very simplistic way, just to kind of have this conversation around productivity. So just keep that in mind. The last thing I want to say is, again, like my disclaimer, is no tool or personality typing, whether it's human design, Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, like name it, whatever colors, like should define us, okay? We should never be feeling like we're put into a box. So in every video that I do on this, I recommend you lean into your own tuition and what feels right for you versus what some, report tells you about yourself. So I just really want to make that really clear. Okay, so I'm going to get into the arrows now. And thanks for listening. All right, so let's talk about arrow number 3. This is my favorite arrow. So this arrow is located on the bottom right-hand side of a body graph chart. And this arrow, just generally speaking, very simply, tells us something about our mind and our perspective. So essentially, what is the framework through which we see life? What is our viewpoint or the lens through which we see the world? And it can also tell us something about goal setting. So if your arrow points left, what it might mean for you is that you have more of this active perspective and details are important to the picture. So think trees in the forest or even flowers in the forest. So it's energetically correct for you to have a very detailed plan or timeline if that feels supportive to you. You're likely more comfortable in the details and specifics of things. And when it comes to goal setting, it benefits you to be as detailed as it feels comfortable when you're calling in the things that you want into your life. Like details are super important to the picture. If your arrow points right, you have more of a peripheral perspective, so a broad view, think forest level, and it benefits you to be a little more loosey-goosey, so like throwing the timeline, the super detailed timeline and plan out the window, and it's better for you to have a loose plan and to move more based on your intuitive flow. And so when it comes to goal setting for this person as well, it benefits them to have a very good picture of what they want, but not necessarily like all the details down to the nitty gritty. And so I'll get into what that can look like for us in 1 minute. Okay, so let's just like throw human design out the window and let's just talk about this subject when it comes to being more structured and then being more fluid when it comes to supporting our productivity or feeling in flow. So if it feels good to you to have a very detailed plan, like go for it. If it feels restrictive to you to have a detailed plan, start thinking about ways in which you can be more loosey-goosey. So I realize that what I'm saying is a little controversial, and I am a project manager by training, and I will tell you that I don't agree that a detailed plan is always the best way to get something done. And I believe that we are all made different, and some of us are designed to be super detailed and have a super detailed plan to get the thing done that we want to get done. And then some of us are designed to go more with the flow, to be a bit more agile. So if you are feeling a pressure to be super detailed, but that feels disruptive to your flow, I would encourage you to lean to more of the fluid side of the house and think more loose plan, general speaking. When it comes to goal setting, if being super detailed feels good to you, continue to do that. If you haven't been super detailed with your goals, but you feel like, oh, I want to try that on and see if that kind of structure feels good to me, then deep dive into it and see if having more details in your goals feels good or if it feels like it's, leaving you uninspired or it feels restrictive or chaining you, feeling like boxed in some way. On the fluid side, when you're setting goals, if you feel like, gosh, I don't like to get detailed and it makes me to feel like I'm just in a jail cell and I want to allow for more of that like surprise to come in, that what life's going to offer me, just have a larger picture of what you want to have done. When you're writing goals, just focus on the top 3 to 5 things. If you're calling something into your life, maybe trying to manifest something, just focus on the top 3 to 5 things. So for example, if you're trying to manifest an apartment or you're looking for an apartment, just, focus on the top 3 to 5 things that you want and allow the universe to kind of fill in the details for you. So it's on this continuum of structure and fluidity, being detailed planner or not being a detailed planner. Both are good. Both are going to get you to the end goal. The idea is which feels more supportive to you. Does it feel more supportive to have the details in a plan, or does it feel more supportive to kind of allow for more variety, some more fluidity, some more surprise in life? So that's what I have to say about that, and I hope it's helpful.